Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, grab a drink. We've got loads of stuff to cover in this video. It's going to be awesome, so let's do it. Massive changes are coming to Overwatch, guys. This is going to be huge for the game, but also it means that some heroes are getting absolutely nerfed into the ground. I mean, any of you guys remember the delete Brig movement? Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah, Blizzard have kind of done that, or at least it seems that way, based off the changes that they have just pushed to the live service. So what we've got, guys, is a load of information to cover in this video because the meta is going to change. Power levels of heroes are going to change. We've also got some information on the Overwatch League Finals as well that we're going to cover towards the end of this video. So this video is going to be jam-packed, guys, because loads of stuff is happening. All right, so what has gone down? Well, there was a massive experimental update on the experimental card. Now, almost all of those changes, with the exception of the Symmetra changes, have gone live. So check this out. This was from the experimental card. Symmetra Photon Projector Primary Fire delay before losing charge increased from 2 to 4 seconds, and the teleporter cooldown 12 to 10 seconds. Now, the change here, we'll get onto this in a second, but basically, you no longer have the photon projector buff that made it to live. It is just the change to the teleporter. But we'll get onto that when we get to the Symmetra section, because let's get stuck into this video. Oh my days. This is the big one. This is Brig. And yeah, okay. So what they have done is they have lowered the base health of Brig from 200 to 150, making her very, very much more vulnerable than she used to be. Also, Inspire total healing decreased from 130 to 90. Healing reduced from 21 to 15 health per second. That is a monumental nerf to the healing output of Brig's Inspire, which of course is her AoE passive healing ability whenever she just damaged with the flail, essentially. I said that last time, didn't I? With the fail. With the flail, essentially, she triggers Inspire, and it's a big AoE heal that goes off over time. Also, the self-healing is no longer reduced by half on Inspire. This is because the healing has been reduced from 130 down to 90, so no longer does it need the reduction in healing. Now, this actually does kind of mean that she sort of heals herself a little bit more, I guess, than she used to do. But honestly, this is a massive nerf to Brig, because what they have done here is reduced her AoE healing potential. They've made her weaker. Like, she's got 50 less HP. So this is another nerf to Brig, who has been consistently nerfed over and over again. Now, the reasoning for the nerfs have pretty much been Brig sort of dictates the meta, and she has done ever since she was put into the game. Blizzard are very, very fearful of Brig, and so they keep trying to change her. And hopefully, I guess what they're hoping for is that Brig actually just doesn't come back. So it's weird. I mean, if that's what they're going for, just remove her out of the game, Blizz. I don't know. Anyway, look at this. This is what the dev comments say. After gaining multiple repair pack charges, Brig was enabled to play at safer distances while still having a powerful impact on her team. Combined with her personal barrier, she ended up not needing as much survivability in terms of raw health. Inspire has also had a powerful team impact despite being hard to feel due to its passive nature, so we're lowering its team-wide healing output while making it more useful for Brig herself. Now, the thing with this is obviously Inspire doesn't offset that loss of 50 HP that Brig has straight up got. You know, she would have preferred to have kept that. It's a nerf. It's basically a nerf across the board to Brig. And again, this is this issue Blizzard have got with Brig. It just seems to be an identity crisis. What is Brig? We know what the other supports are. We know what they do. Brig, though, it's like, okay, she started off as a frontline sort of Squire tank support, but she was way too tanky, way too good. She gets nerfed. Then she gets sort of pushed back to the back line. Then she's sitting there protecting her other supports. And then she's in sort of the brawl when fights break out, but she's still too tanky. She's still doing too much stuff. Then now we've got this Brig where they're saying, look, we're going to reduce it even more. So remember, she's had a barrier nerfed as well recently. Just tons of nerfs coming in for Brig. She got armor removed from a repair pack as well. So we can sort of extrapolate from that Blizzard have got issues with the way armor works and how it was very powerful. Because, hey, when you applied armor to a Genji or you applied it to a Tracer or a Soldier or a McCree or basically any hero that's not designed to have armor, it made them infinitely more powerful. And Brig was the only character that could do that. So, well, you kind of wanted to Brig for that. Also, Inspire's range and the way it locks on and it's a guaranteed heal was super powerful as well. So I don't know what they're doing with Brig here, guys. The fact is, this looks like the end of Brig. This looks like Brig has been nerfed into the ground where we probably won't see her get selected in every team comp. Now, there is one thing with Brig. She's been resistant to every nerf. So nerfs have come into Brig and she's still been powerful. She's still been dominant. So question is here, will she remain dominant after these changes? I don't know. Also, the other question is, what's going to happen to Brig? Like, when do you play this Brig? Why would you pick her? Would you take her if the enemy are playing dive against you? Because it gives you that sort of added protection. If somebody does dive on top of your team, you can bash them, you can whip shot them away. You've still got your repair pack heal. Or do you just pick Moira in that scenario and just roll like Bat Moira or Anna Moira or something like that? Why would you take the Brig? It's going to be interesting to watch this sort of play out, but Brig is heavily nerfed, guys. Be under no illusions. She is much weaker than she previously was. Let's move into Orisa, because Orisa has been nerfed in actually a really interesting and clever way that in some respects makes her more fun to play while actually making her a lot weaker, and we should see a lot less Orisa. At least that's the plan. Remember, this patch was designed to address double barriers. Blizzard don't like them. They want them out of the game, so that's what they're trying to do with all of these changes. Okay, so the base armor of Orisa has been reduced from 250 to 200. Again, that's a big change. That's a 50%, well, a 50 point, sorry, not percent, a 50-point reduction to the base armor. And this is the big one, halt. The radius has been reduced from 7 to 4 meters, meaning it's much more difficult now to pull people with halt. It has to be much closer to the target when you activate it, and the projectile speed has increased from 20 to 30. Now, that's a 10-point increase, but it's rapid. It's very fast. This means this Orisa is much more fun to play because you're firing the halt out almost like a skill shot. You fire it into an area. When you get the halt off and it sucks the targets towards it and somebody else on your team actually combos with it, it's a much more skillful occurrence now. It's not this thing you can do every single fight. It's not this, uh-oh, there's halt, I'm going to get sucked from 7 meters away, because now it's only 4 meters away. This actually is a really interesting change, and I like this because it reduces the dominance of Orisa, but then makes her more fun to play. In a way, I look at this as like a really fantastic balance change, because they're making a hero fun while actually nerfing it, which is just awesome. So these are the dev notes on this. The large radius of Orisa's halt ability made it too effective in setting up combos against large groups of enemies on a relatively short cooldown. The changes to the projectile speed and radius are aimed at shifting its use to be more effective at catching single targets. So there you go. They want this more of a single target focus and not just pulling the entire team and throwing loads of abilities into them. I mean, when Genji was buffed, you could like suck the whole team, and then Genji would dash through and just get like a free Dragon Blade, it would seem a lot of the time. But of course, Genji has since been nerfed since all of that, so yeah. But this change, I actually kind of like this, and I do think this will actually reduce the number of times we see Orisa get selected in the game. Moving on to Pharah. Now, the jury's out on this. Is this a buff? Is this a nerf? What is going on here with Pharah? So the details are, hover jets, movement speed increased by 20%. However, the regeneration rate has been reduced from 50 to 35 per second. Now, when I played with this Pharah on the experimental card, I actually found this kind of fun to play. She moves faster in the air. The problem is she loses fuel quicker because it doesn't regenerate as fast. This means that she can't just stay in the air indefinitely. Well, you still kind of can, but it's much harder to do it. But you kind of gain more, like, aerial movement because you've got this increased movement speed of 20% when you're using hover jets. So the question is this trade-off actually worth it? And I think only the most die-hard of Pharah players could actually answer that question, because it's a weird one. To me, as somebody who, I'll say very rarely, has probably got like 20 hours, 25 hours of DPS playtime on Pharah. She's not a hero that I generally play that much. I like hit scan more than the projectile heroes. But to me, it feels better, but I'm not sure that actually means it's a buff, right? So this is a weird one. It's almost like they're shifting around the priorities of the hero. Now, here's the other thing, Barrage, and this is a buff. This is a big straight-up buff. So the duration is reduced from 3 to 2.5 seconds. Now, I was kind of confused in the last video. I didn't know, this was the video when we covered the experimental update. I didn't know if this meant the whole damage had been, so you were getting 3 seconds worth of barrage damage in 2.5. That's not the case. You actually just have half a second less barrage. But that kind of doesn't matter because you do so much damage. Like, it's a massive front-loaded damage ability when you use it, that at the end of the ability, you're kind of vulnerable. Or if you use it to just blow up one target super quick, then you kind of want to get out of it. And because Pharah can't cancel it, you often just get killed when you use the ability. Well, these are the developer notes on this. They say, we're making some adjustments to hover jets that should increase her flight speed and make her more agile. To compensate for this change, we're also lowering her hover uptime. So again, it's this give and take. It's like, okay, you can move faster in the air, but we're actually reducing the amount of time you can hover. Maybe they should have just kept the hover time the same. You know what I mean? It's like, just keep the regeneration rate. I don't know. Because remember, Pharah is in a world of hell. She's got Ashe, who is very strong right now and will just annihilate Pharah. Widow can just one-tap Pharah. McCree can pump loads of damage into Pharah. Soldier's pretty good at dealing with Pharah. Batiste can fire at a Pharah. There's a lot of things. Even like an Echo in an aerial battle, an Echo can pretty much smash a Pharah at close range. So Pharah has got a lot of issues, and I don't know whether they should have actually taken the regeneration rate away. Now, on Rocket Barrage, they say Rocket Barrage has such an immense damage output that the tail end of the duration was often more of a liability than a benefit, especially with fewer barriers around to blast through. So there you go. So they're saying, look, we're making this a faster ultimate, and I think that's fine. I actually like the Barrage change, and I like the Hover Jets change, but I don't know if this is a buff or a nerf. Pharah mains in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Now, this is a outright disgusting buff for Rodhog, right? This is super powerful hog we're about to see, ladies and gentlemen. So before we get into this, you guys might remember some comments that I covered from the developer AMA, in which they said, I think it was Jeff Goodman said that, hey, you know, we did actually toy with potentially changing the classification of some heroes, and Roadhog was one of those heroes. I believe Mei was as well, potentially making Mei a tank rather than DPS. And in Hog's case, it was, well, let's make Hog a DPS instead of a tank. Now, Hog isn't really a tank. Hog doesn't really have damage mitigation abilities for his team. Every other tank does. Hog does not. Hog can just eat, well, he can suck on his gas. He doesn't eat it. I guess he could eat it if he wanted to. He's probably got an iron gut, but he can, yeah, gas himself up and absorb damage that way. So I guess you could use his just sheer mass, the frame of the lad to block damage, but that never really works too well in Overwatch, does it? Anyway, this is what they've done to him. So Scrap Gun, ammo reduced from 6 to 5. Right, so we lose 1 round or 1 shot. Okay, fine. However, the damage per projectile has been increased by 6 to 7. Now, remember, Scrap Gun operates with its primary fire like a shotgun, effectively, so there's a lot of projectiles coming out. And the recovery speed has increased from 0.7 to 0.85. Now, what the devs say about this is these weapon changes are intended to make Roadhog's chain hook combo more consistent and bring back some of the heavyweight feeling it had in the past. So what this does is gives you more damage per shot. You fire slightly slower. You've got less ammo, but you've got that power to just blast people again. You can hook combo people and wreck them. This is weird. This is straight up DPS buff to Roadhog. And again, it's just, I don't know, like me as the tank player, like I enjoy playing Hog. But when you're playing Reinhardt or you're playing, I guess with Orisa, it's not too bad because you do have the Hulk combo with Hook, although it is harder to do now. But Hog has never really been seen, to me at least, as a... He's not an off tank. He's not like, he just does whatever he likes and you're just sort of out there on your own. Like, compare him to Zarya. Zarya is phenomenal. Like, I think Zarya is one of the better designed heroes in the entire game, to be honest, because just the way she interacts and the way she feels to play against and to play, she just feels great in all respects. But when you've got her as your off tank and you are a Reinhardt, you know you've got that bubble. You know you've got that defensive capability. With Hog, you just don't. It's just like, yeah, he's generally off on the map doing whatever he wants to do on some crazy flank. So, I don't know, but this is a massive buff to Hog. If you're a Hog player, yeah, I mean, I'd be loving this. This is going to be awesome. So next up on the double barrier assault from Blizzard in an attempt to delete this meta from the game. And like, be under no illusions here, guys. They have deleted this meta from the game with these changes. It's going to be, yeah, what the hell. Okay, so Sigma. Sigma has been obliterated. So experimental barrier health reduced from 900 to 700. So that's actually pretty huge for the barrier. It's still better than Orisa's barrier because remember, that's only 600 HP. But yeah, that's a massive reduction. And not only that, the regeneration rate has been reduced from 120 to 80 per second. This is a major reduction in the power level of experimental barrier. This means you'll see less experimental barrier on the field, and also it will get destroyed faster. Now, Kinetic Grasp is other defensive ability. The cooldown is increased from 10 to 12 seconds. Now, this is Sigma's suck. When he takes damage, it converts into shields, and they've reduced, or increased, sorry, the cooldown by 2 seconds. Now, what you would do with Sigma is you would sort of use the barrier, throw your barrier out, it takes damage, you don't let it get destroyed, you suck the barrier back in, you move forward with your Kinetic Grasp active, you're sucking in all the damage, you give yourself some personal shields. All the while this is going on, your experimental barrier is being recharged, you then throw that forward again. That's kind of what you do with Sigma, especially if it was a front-loaded kind of fight and you wasn't using the barrier to maybe block a Widow, for example. This is a major reduction. in his power level. And this is what Blizzard say about this. Given Sigma's offensive strength with hyperspheres and accretion, we have reduced some of his defensive tools to bring him more in line with other tank heroes. So yeah, but I mean, the big issue here, I guess the reason why they've done this is the barrier nerf. They do not want the double barrier meta in the game, and they are trying to actively remove it, and I think that's fine. Barriers have their place in Overwatch, but when we've got barriers all over the place, it does kind of sap a bit of the fun out of the game. But yeah, okay, massive nerf for Sigma. Ooh, he's not going to be as defensive as he once was. I still think this Sigma is going to be okay, though. Like, accretion is a damn good ability. Hyperspheres do a lot of damage. Sigma can still throw his barrier at you, and it will still block damage, obviously, just not as much. Kinetic Grasp is still available. It's only 2 seconds. So we're going to have to wait and see how heavy this is to Sigma. But yeah, it is a straight-up stats reduction. It is a nerf. So these are the official Symmetra changes. Now, Blizzard say we're reducing the cooldown of Teleporter to help lower the friction between needing to use it as both a personal and team-focused mobility tool, and that's it. They've just reduced the cooldown from 12 to 10 seconds. Now, the funky thing with this is they didn't put the projector change live to the primary fire, which actually meant that you would retain high charge for longer. That would have been ridiculously broken because Symmetra would have done incredible amounts of damage, and it would have taken ages for it to lose the charge. It would have just been honestly quite obscene. Now, I think the reason why that was in the experimental update to begin with is it was this assault on barriers. Symmetra is phenomenally good against barriers because remember, when she damages a barrier, she doesn't lose ammo. She can just keep firing into a barrier and it charges up a beam. She's doing loads of damage. And obviously, if she had the experimental buff for a primary fire damage, she still would have kept that charge longer and just done more damage. It would have been ridiculous. So Blizzard decided to rein back on that. Now, what I find interesting about this is I expected them not to go live with the HP nerf to Brig. I thought they'd keep Brig as she was instead of reducing 50 HP, but then push the rest of the changes through and just see what happens. But it seems they've just gone for the good old nuclear option, the old sledgehammer on Brig once again, although she seems highly resistant to it. But yeah, that's a Symmetra change. It's a buff. She's Teleporter. It's cool. Zen gets a massive DPS buff. This is beautiful because what the hell is Zen? I asked you guys this question in a recent video, and the answer is this. Zen is an artillery platform. He pumps out massive damage. It's projectile damage, yeah, but it can be massive spike damage when all of his alternate fire like clip you in the head. It's just tons of damage. He's got his Discord orb, which just increases damage received by 30%. It's just ridiculous. Like, Zen is massive damage, but for that, he's quite vulnerable, and he's got a bit of healing on the side, right? And obviously a really good ultimate in Transcendence. Anyway, giving Zen more damage is actually a really funky thing to do. So this is what Blizzard have done. Orb of Destruction, the secondary fire, charge rate increased by 15%. So 0.6 down to 0.5 seconds per orb. Okay. And rate of fire increased from 0.85 to 9 shots per second. And this is what the devs say. Zenyatta has low healing and mobility outside of his ultimate, but makes up for it with high potential damage output. With the recently lowered barrier uptime resulting in an overall faster pace of the game, we want to make sure Zenyatta still excels at his strength. This change will make his charged attack flow a bit better in combat. So there you go. You're going to be doing more damage with Zen here. I like this because I like Zen. But Zen obviously has other issues, right? Zen is quite vulnerable to being dove upon. If Tracer gets Zen in a 1v1, she wins most of the time. Same goes for Genji. Zen has to be really super aware of where his positioning is. And this might be where a Brig fits back into the game because Brig can be like, hey, Zen, I can look after you. But the issue there is, do you have enough healing output? Probably not. So you probably would get rid of the Brig and put a Batiste in, or put a Moira in, or put an Ana in, right? So that's the weird one with this. But yeah, this is actually... I like this because I like Zen. So that's all I'm going to say about this. Nice buff to Zen, but he's still going to suffer with survivability. He's not going to be like some sort of killing machine. Well, he is. He's going to be more of a killing machine than he was, but he's not going to be this like super tanky killing machine, right? He's going to be vulnerable. If you do manage to isolate him, you're still probably going to be able to take him out. So interesting change for Zen. So not only did the live client actually update yesterday, the PTR updated with a lot of changes to the workshop. Things like fixing the scaling of the heroes. Remember now you can have like absolutely massive heroes and stuff. But one interesting thing was actually found by Andy, and he put this on Twitter. So check this out. Loot boxes, I've got a little box next to them that say special offer. That is brand new. So they might be testing things on the PTR here, changing the way the store works, maybe doing some sort of like, oh, you can get, I don't know, 10 loot boxes for the price of 5 now or something. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I still find loot boxes kind of boring. I don't think people are out there gagging to buy tons of loot boxes. I mean, maybe they are. I don't know. I don't know what Blizzard's stats are, but I haven't bought a loot box for a hell of a long time. Overwatch is 4 years old. We've played the game to death. You've probably got enough currency in the game to buy whatever skins you want. So, what's a special offer? Unless they're going to start selling individual skins, which would be absolutely ridiculous if they did. In fact, I want to know what you guys would think about this in the comments below. What do you think a special offer could be? I don't think it's going to be stuff like individual skins and stuff like that, but it might just be, hey, you get a loot box for free or something if you buy a loot box. I don't know. Could be that kind of stuff, or maybe you buy 10 and get 10 free. Although I think they kind of do that anyway, don't they, where you get discounts based on how many you buy. If you buy like 50 loot boxes or 100, you get a discount and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just don't think people are buying loot boxes anymore. This kind of goes into a discussion again about like what we're going to get for Overwatch 2. Are we going to get a battle pass system? Probably. If I was a betting man, I'd say we were. So yeah, an interesting one. But stuff like this is completely undocumented in the patch notes for PTR. So it's always cool when we find bits and pieces of info like this. So nice one, Andy. So let's talk about Overwatch League, because we've got information on the grand finals. Now, crucially, and this is absolutely crucial and it is critical information, the patch that is on the game right now, so all of the stuff we've just covered in this video, that is the patch that is going to be played for the Overwatch League grand finals. So the teams now know what they need to practice on, and that's going to be the meta, whatever that turns out to be. This is probably why we've got massively aggressive nerfs to double barriers, or to the double barrier meta, and got Brig absolutely obliterated. Because I don't think Blizzard want to see Brig, and they don't want to see double barriers in their grand finals for Overwatch League. You can throw that out as a conspiracy theory or say whatever you like, but I think that's pretty clear. That's what's going on here. Anyway, this is what we've got here. So grand finals weekend, we've got sort of the brackets here. Now, because the league has been split into the Asia region and the North American region because of COVID and all the travel restrictions, what's going to happen is the first match will be the second place team in Asia versus the first place team in North America. And then the next game will be second place NA versus first place in Asia. And then it goes through to the winner of game 1 versus the winner of game 2. And then they progress into the finals. Now, this has got a loser bracket system where if you lose, the game 1 and game 2 losers do get the chance to play again and fight through the losers bracket to get up into the winners final. This is pretty standard. This is fine. This gives a chance for teams to, if they have a shock defeat at the very start of the grand finals weekend, they can maybe bring it all the way back. So I kind of like this. It's cool. This is how finals are generally always done for stuff like this in esports, and it would be strange if it was done any kind of other way. So on the screen now, we've got the grand finals weekend times. Actually, they've got GMT on this, which I kind of like. They just don't have... But, well, I guess, would it be BST in October? I don't actually know. Maybe it is GMT. I'm not even sure. I don't even know. I don't even know what time zone I'm in, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, yeah, you can see the dates on the screen. I'm not going to read them off. Or rather, you can see the dates and the times. Now, what's interesting about this is, well, I want to kind of show you guys this. This is from the esports writer on Twitter. And he points out that the Overwatch League Grand Finals, so the top 4 teams, will be challenging the League of Legends World Championship. Both tournaments will be happening from Asia with Overwatch League's dates and times below. And this will really test Overwatch League's popularity in Asia. Now, this is either an incredibly clever thing to do or a stupid thing to do, because League of Legends is the king of esports. And I mean, are Blizzard confident here going, you know what? Our game is super popular in Asia, so we reckon we can take on League of Legends and people will watch our game instead of watching League of Legends. Now, of course, you will have Overwatch fans that will always watch Overwatch, and you've got League fans that will always watch League. But there will be those people in the middle that might watch both, right? And if they're on different times, you actually could increase your viewership, right? Instead of going live at the same time. So this is a very interesting sort of ploy here by Blizzard. So I don't know. Do you guys think this will work out? I think it's very ballsy move. Okay, so let's take a look at some details about the Overwatch League Finals. So at the conclusion of the regional playoffs on September the 13th, the 2 final teams from North America will travel to Asia in order to have the final 4 teams compete on the same server during the grand finals weekend. We'll give competing teams a few weeks off to allow for travel and quarantine time to make sure players are well rested. If the league deems travel unsafe for players, the grand finals format will be altered so that the 2 finalists in each region will play an extended series, and 2 regional championships or champions even, will be crowned for the 2020 season. Now, there's a lot here to digest. So firstly, there's going to be, the teams are going to play in the same place, right? They're going to go to the same country and play on the same server. Now, I don't know if this means they're going to be in the same building, but it means they're going to be in the same like regional server. And the reason for this is it's latency, right, guys? You can't play a North American team against an Asian team if one team's in North America and one team's in Asia. The ping will be terrible. There'll be a lot of lag. It will just be abysmal. So they need to be as close as physically possible. That's why they're going to Asia. Now, maybe we're going to see the OGN studio used in South Korea or something like that. Most teams in Asia are in South Korea, so I expect the North American teams to go over to South Korea, and maybe we see a live environment. I'd like to see that. Of course, we probably wouldn't have an audience at this, but I think it would just make the experience better all round. However, if this isn't possible, and if teams can't actually get there on time because of loads of issues, remember, I live in the UK, and just to give you guys a bit of, I guess as an example, the UK has just recently said that if you come back from France, you have to go into quarantine for 14 days. They announced this yesterday, and it's like, what? You literally have a day's notice before you get put into quarantine if you were already in France. So things like that can happen really fast. And if something like, I don't know, these teams fly to South Korea, and then all of a sudden, or they're trying to fly, and then maybe America says, okay, we're not flying to North Korea, or did I say North Korea? We're not. You don't want to go to North Korea and play Overwatch. Trust me. Maybe South Korea say, we're not actually accepting flights from North America. That's right. There we go. Because, well, you've got loads of COVID going on or whatever, right? Stuff like that could happen. We just don't know. It's a very dynamic situation. But if that happens, then we're going to have this weird situation where there'll be two champions. And I think that'll be really bad for Overwatch, because I want to see the best teams from each region play against each other. I want to see the Shocks, the Fusions, those teams playing against the likes of your Shanghai Dragons, your Seoul Dynasty, and those teams. That's what I want to see, right? So it'll be a major disappointment to me if that doesn't happen. But if it does, well, health comes first all of the time. So Blizzard have really got a difficult situation here. And just to give a bit more information as well, the 2020 champions will take home a $1.5 million prize and the championship trophy. The runner-up gets $750,000, with $450,000 for third place and $350,000 for fourth place. So this is a lot of money on the line. However, if the season finishes with two regional champions, then the prize money allocations will change. So each regional champion will get $1 million, and the second place teams in each region get $500,000. So you can see how they've reduced the prize money there, and it looks like they've just completely got rid of prize money for third place, it looks like, which, yeah. So there you go, guys. That's been a roundup of what's going on in the Overwatch world right now. Also, I guess as well, you guys are probably aware of this if you've logged into the game, but you can now earn the Bastion Sandcastle skin if you win 9 games, which is pretty cool. Although it's not as good as the Tracer skin, is it? Let's be honest. Because, well, yeah, Tracer's the best hero in the game because she comes from the UK. It's not like I'm biased at all. But yeah, there you go, guys. And a nice, beautiful roundup of what's going on in the world of Overwatch. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is kind of like, this is almost like a bit of an experiment for me again. This is similar to the video we made on the developer AMA, where it's more of it's like a casual discussion. You guys can fire this video up and just chill while you're sitting back and doing whatever you're doing and get updated to whatever's going on in the world of Overwatch, and we can have a lovely discussion. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, remember you can follow me on everything, which is at Stylosa, and yeah, drop a subscription to the channel if that tickles your fancy, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Toodaloo.